Hello, good evening. Thank you so much for coming to the Sashiko Live Streaming. This is Atsushi. It's Thursday night. It's time to stitch together. And this is the live streaming where I talk about Sashiko while doing the Sashiko stitching. It's not a tutorial, it's not a webinar, it's not a really teaching opportunities. So if you could bring some of your stuff to stitch together, that'd be great. I am happy to have your request or questions to talk about stories. But I do not answer any technical questions about Sashiko. So if you could just ask the question regarding the culture or stories around it where I can stitch. Okay. Few announcement. Actually, only one announcement. So I will be traveling to New York tomorrow after the Japanese live after Japanese live streaming, I will be traveling to New York. And I do have a workshop in Brooklyn, Loop of the Loom, Dumbo, at Dumbo. So it's going to be Dumbo in Brooklyn. And the workshop is sold out. I think there's a waiting list as well. At the same time, I will be there I hope that I can be there before 4 o'clock, but I will be there over the weekend for the evening for the pop-up store. It's gonna be 4 to 6 or something like that. I will bring some of this stuff like thread tools and also some samples we have been doing. So if you have not seen any of our stuff in person, this might be a good time to check it out. I might not be there. Well, I will keep updated on the Instagram, but it's gonna be a pop-up store in the Loop of the Loom. So if you could stop by, that'd be great. It's gonna be on Friday tomorrow evening as well as on Saturday. Saturday is gonna be more like probably easy to anticipate. It's gonna be about 5 to 6. Okay, so it's gonna be in New York. Dumbo, Brooklyn. Good evening, good evening. I will switch the camera. And there we go. Doop, doop, wait. Hello, hello. Thank you so much for coming. I don't know how long I have not been to New York to do the workshop. It has been a long time. I believe that it was also the loop of the loom, where I had a workshop, Sashiko workshop in New York City. At this point, they are the only one venue that I teach in New York. So it was like 2 years ago or so. I'm pretty freaked out about driving in New York. I probably told you about that in the last live streaming, but I'm pretty freaked out. I don't want to do that. But hey, there's nothing we can do. If I have to drive, I have to drive. Yeah, it's gonna be the first workshop in 3 months. Wow. What? Yes. Wow. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I have not offered a workshop for 3 months. It's unbelievable, but that's good. That's good that I had so much time to focus on stitching. When I teach, I cannot focus on the other stuff much. So I have to balance it, right? So it's kind of difficult to focus on one thing. For example, next week is fine, but after that, 2 weeks from now, I have to cancel the live streaming most likely because I will be in Florida for the workshop, 3 days workshop. And technically speaking, Thursday night at around this time, I should be available. at the same time, it's very uncertain because of the internet connection. And I may be able to say hello or so, but it's not gonna be like stitching workshop. Not a workshop, stitching live streaming. So I have to cancel. I have to, not do that the fourth week of January. So when I teach, things get a little bit kind of packed, I would say. Well, I don't want to say hassle, but it's more like it's more packed. Well, I gotta do what I gotta do. So yeah, I will be in New York. So I don't know if I would have enough time to kind of chit chat. I should be able to talk, but at the same time, I don't know how busy it's gonna be. So I cannot promise. I don't think I can go get a grab of coffee or something like that. But I will be there in the store, in the shop. And it is quite interesting to teach. There are tons of workshop right now about Sashiko, right? In English, probably like I don't want to say million, but countless of workshop Sashiko workshop available right now, both online and in person. And I sometimes get a feedback from other people who took the other workshop about Sashiko, and it looks like that I cannot talk for the whole picture, but because of their limited information, limited knowledge, and limited experience, what they do is really the workshop. Let's say that let's purchase the pattern pre-printed fabric with the stitches size pre-printed, and then the workshop is let's stitch together. They might mention something about Sashiko from the internet or from somebody else, books, stuff like that, and then they might explain the stories or history or some cultural background. But when it comes to the most important thing about stitching, it's gonna be it's likely that they will say let's stitch together. My workshop is really not like that. It's very much a learning experience. So you will you will be tired, very tired after the first day. You Many people wants to go home after the first um, the first day of the workshop. It's probably going to be uncomfortable. It's probably going to be difficult. At least it is very much learning experience. So it's kind of joke, but when I teach in the QuiltCon, I send them the message saying that it's partying, drinking is part of the festival QuiltCon. At the same time, don't drink too much before the workshop because they might want to have the fresh mind because that's what that's what they're gonna kind of tackle into. It is good to drink after the workshop because that can lead us to the relaxation, but it is very much the learning experience. Pretty intense. So I hope that if you haven't taken one of those yet, I hope that you can come to that like really, really teaching experience. I mean, teaching and learning experience. The goal is pretty simple. I will I will help you to become like us, stitching wise. Many people say my stitching is fast. Oh, your stitching will be as fast as mine, so you won't really feel that. It does not require 50 or like, it doesn't even require 10 or even 5 years to get this place. Of course, one needs some practice. I'm not a magician, so you cannot just, jump to the next level by 6 hours, but I will pass down everything I can to make this happen. And I think that's why my workshop has been ongoing even in this like diversified market for Sashiko. But yeah, it's not let's enjoy Sashiko together. So that's something they might want to know. I'm sorry, just I was going to cancel the microphone. Just a second. I'm sorry. I'm good. Oh my gosh, sorry. Ah, I have been touching the vintage fabric and that's pretty dusty. And that probably creates a lot of interesting air here. I washed them, right? I washed them repeatedly, so some of the washed fabric is okay. They're not dusty. But before I wash it, I check what is that, and that process of checking is very, very probably dangerous, and I have been doing that here. So some of the particle from many, many years old may be floating around. Like, what kind of, who used that kind of fabric? But this is going to be a very, very important fabric when we make borrow-ish piece, borrow to be. This is just leftover on the table that I found. Hmm. Well, I brought a topic today. How can we raise my voice better? This is the topic that I carried from the previous talk with Tai. And there's a series called Sashiko Dialogue, and I talk about Sashiko and kind of related topic with very young gentleman Tai. And it's kind of like a learning experience to me. It's a learning opportunity for me to understand what I'm trying to do. Sorry. It's a great opportunity for me to learn what is the target that I'm trying to convey the message to. For that matter, everybody here is very, very, very good learning opportunities. What you reply to me here will help me to understand why my message, my voice, my stories do not really get a voice. There's some difference or a gap or barrier, a wall between two cultures, and that mindset difference is sort of blocking the communication. And it's not a smart idea. My goal is to not to really push the way I think to others. At some point, I have to push, like, I cannot change my way. So, because if I change it, what's the point of sharing this? So, I don't really change the way I speak up or I convey the message. But at the same time, it is very important to understand where and whom, what I am trying to carry this message to. Otherwise, I think without understanding that, thinking about how I can raise my voice better is, I wouldn't say meaningless, but it's it's after that. After I learn about it, then I can think about the efficient way to convey the message. But until that, I really have to understand the culture here. So if you have any ideas or even advice for that matter, I usually don't ask for advice. I don't ask the advice for on the Instagram anymore. That's a bad idea. So I don't. Um, so I don't ask the advice on the internet on the Instagram. Here, probably I can talk, so it's okay to ask. But if you have any advice for me to raise my voice is the kind of stories I share on the Instagram. The stories are those information to preserve the culture that we practice. It's not about right or wrong in Sashiko. It's not about rules. So it's very, very difficult because I have to define something without actually defining it. I have to ask them to guess it without. I really need them to imagine it, think, or associate while me not giving them the specific clear answer. And of course, one of the way to raise my voice very clearly and loudly is to define the answer. I know that. So if I define what is the right Sashiko, then the right Sashiko I define will get the voice. It's easy way because it's what is required in this market right now. I probably will get more followers. I will probably, well, first of all, I can write a book. If I don't mind defining the rule, if I don't mind defining the right Sashiko, then I don't mind writing book for profit. So that's gonna be the game changer. My point is quite challenging to convey. Because it's really difficult to explain, really difficult to verbalize that. Some people just never get well. That's one way to approach that. I think I'm a little idealist for that. I hope that there are the ways to kind of penetrate that barrier somehow. We need authentic culture, and some people just want trendy stuff. Yes, that's very true, and it's really sad to say that. At the same time, if they really just want to have the trendy stuff, I'm not worried about them too much because they will be gone within a few years, I hope. If what they want is very trendy, how it looks, then I'm not really worried about it. I'm worried about those who think they know about Sashiko. Period. Without, being to Japan, without talking to Japanese people. So it's there are some really strong cultural like something blocking us to communicate better. And the reason I keep saying that is because that's something I learned from the interaction on the social media. Some people get really frustrated by reading my post because what they want is to the answer, very clear answer. They come to the account to expecting to get the answer they want to hear, but they don't get it. They have to read like many posts. They have to probably read through 300 posts I made in the last 2023. Then you might get it. A little bit. They might get a little bit of that. But there are sometimes, like very occasionally, I receive the comment saying that they understand the fact that they will not understand. It is they say that it is okay to not to understand you perfectly, but the fact that I don't understand it is actually the beginning of learning. And that's a very, very good message that I would like to convey. I don't even know what Sashiko is, to be honest. I know the Sashiko we have been practicing, but I keep saying that's not a whole story. So it is so difficult. Yet I don't just wanna give up on that. When you reach my age, you won't worry about anyone else. Uh, that's a way to go. So I don't know how many years to go, but let me struggle. Let me struggle here. Let me make a fuss. Let me make a fuss. You know, it's an intentional fuss. It's not a whining. It's the fuss. It's like, yeah, it's like me telling my daughter that yeah, I got that, but uh, it's good to be idealistic at some point. So yeah, this year. Oh, did I say the resolution last time? It's a very vague resolution, and it's probably not going to happen because I don't think I can. But it's about time to summarize what I have been writing. So I will do my best to sort of. I don't know if it's gonna be book or publication, but something like that. So I don't know if it's good place to disclose this information. But this year in the QuiltCon, I decided to. So let me put it this way: every year when I go to Quilton, there are many many quilters, right? And they have like a stickers to represent their quilting guild, or even themselves, like the artist, the quilter. I got a lot of stickers last year, and only what I had was a small piece of paper with my name and a link to the Instagram or my website. I felt it's quite lame. I mean, and then I kept researching the things, and sticker in the US is not that expensive. In Japan, it's quite expensive. As long as I know, it's quite expensive to get a die cut sticker, like a cut the size of that. But if you follow those like deals online, I can get like 100 of those for $20, and that's not much for what I understand. 100 for 20 is what, 20 cents per piece, which is not really. And it's gonna be probably good advertisement materials if I can, um, give it to people in the QuiltCon. So I made a sticker, and anybody who are on the QuiltCon who are going to take my workshop or join the lecture, or anybody who joined the lecture in the previous year, or anybody who took my workshop before in anywhere. So pretty much anybody who knows me in person, or anybody who is interested in me, they can claim themselves to get a sticker. If it's like I cannot. There's no system or there's no way to make sure or to check if you took the workshop, if they took the workshop or not. So I will hand it to the sticker to anybody who claimed that. So that's gonna happen in QuiltCon, and thankfully it came before this weekend. So I will bring it to the Dumbo too. So if you can come to the pop-up loop of the room, and if you know me before, if you have taken the online class or if you have taken the in-person class before, you can claim it. And it's gonna look like this. I don't know if you can. It's pretty shiny, so I don't know if. It's so shiny. Over the camera, it's so shiny. Ah, I don't know if you can see that. But yeah, it's designed by my also Sashiko friend, and I printed like 200 of those, so it should be enough for this year. But in the process of printing, I realized that self-publishing is not crazy, especially if I have an objection, if I have an estimate of how many people may help me to purchase that. It's quite in fact it's a good business. I didn't think about that, but without going through the publisher, I get more percentage. We call it royalty, I guess. And then there's like a break-even point, and then that break-even point is not that high. So it is doable, and if if that's the self-publication, I can write whatever I want. Correct? If it's not correct, please let me know. I mean, I'm not gonna write something crazy. I'm not gonna write something bad or something like offensive, something that I cannot say on the YouTube. I'm not gonna write it down. So I will try my best. I don't know. I have no idea. I have a very, very, very amateur of the book making or even writing. The writing I write on the Instagram is horrible from the perspective of English writing. There are reasons I write like that. It's like I write as if I can write in Japanese. It's like asking them, encouraging the reader to read between lines. So it's very, very, very unclear. In fact, it is probably opposite of the writing style that I at university teach. So if I have an editor, that editor will put lots of red pen. So it's probably better to have. I don't know. And I don't really have time and also energy to summarize into one book. But I guess it's about time to try. Yeah, it is the 100 stickers for 20. I will not pay $5 for the one sticker. So I don't know if I'm gonna sell it online. Well, I kind of disclosed the pricing, so that's a problem. That's not a problem. It's just here, just you and me here. Just don't close it. Don't disclose it. So you just don't know the raw cost, material cost for this sticker. But I don't plan to charge that much. But if I start selling this sticker with $5 per piece, you can say, Azu, it's kind of over the line. Because I agree, it's over the line. So, I mean, I of course paid for the designer fee, but even including that, like probably $1 is gonna cover everything, I guess. Shh, thank you, Dennis. So it's just here. Stickers are so popular right now. I bet you'll give out a lot. Yeah, so I will see. But it's more like the how do you say that? Not a gift. It's like a note. It's a token for the appreciation. So I'm not gonna give out to anybody on the street or anybody I meet. It has to be the one who, well, I mean, who take my workshop, who purchase some thread from me, whatever they think they can get it, they can get it. And I will try to put this one. I will mention that at some point on, like next week or whenever I can update my website. I will put this one if when they reorder things, or even like when they order in the note section, if they say I want to have a sticker, and then I will just put this sticker in. Okay, Adrian, I have to see that. Just a second. I have to. This one is come on, move. Just a second, okay. Shops around here sell them for $2 or $3 from what I've seen. Wow. But it's pretty small though. There's no like a it's now glaring, but there's no prism or it's very it's plastic, I guess. So it's not a paper, but well, now my daughter and my wife has it. And then tomorrow I will bring some. But yeah, it's kind of fun. And again, the key is it's only $20 for 100 pieces. That is a for me it's like a deal breaker. I thought it would take much more. When I did that in Japan, it was about 100 for $50 or so. And in Japan, it's quite expensive. It's like Japanese cost of living is very low. So come to think about it, 100 to $50, 7,000 or 8,000 yen was a little bit too much. Of course, I could reduce the cost by making the order bigger, but I don't want to have thousands of those. I don't know if I can, handle thousands of those stickers. So, well, if I start making a business out of this kitty, that means I may need a little bit of cash, which I don't plan. Like mug or T-shirt. Well, I have to make a T-shirt saying "Borrow happens." I keep forgetting that. Borrow happens is the T-shirt that I would like to make. It was fun. I have to be honest. I really have to be honest. Like the process of making this was quite fun. The cat is the designer's design, which I don't. It's too much glaring. I don't know why. Like this better. Then I just put him on the zabuton, on the sitting pillow. I do have a Photoshop. I use the Photoshop to do that. Anyway. Well, I gotta be stitching. It was fun. I cannot believe that I talk about this sticker after talking about how can I raise my voice, but that's what's going on here. You have a question about tonight's topic. Thank you. Thank you for bringing me back to there. I really appreciate that. What does it mean to you to raise your voice better? How will you know you've succeeded? That's a good point. So the question is, what is the projection? I don't know if you or anybody here feel the same way, but the Sashiko I practice is very minor at this moment. So there are many kinds of Sashiko right now, defining that they are the answer of the Sashiko. And that creates quite big stream, which is like a river. And there are many, leaders in that trend, and they define the answer, and then because everybody wants to have the answer, they became a big flow. And I feel like what I say is a small stone in those big river. So I am making little tiny whirlpools around it. I am making something, but I am still a very small stone. So when I say that, how can I raise my voice better, is more like asking me, myself, and anybody else, how can I make this stone bigger so that people find something is off? So ideally, I would like to split the river to many directions so that everybody else can appreciate the river. Of course, it can go back to one ocean later on, but right now they are. It's gonna be a very extreme. So it's just analogy, okay? There's so many. Sorry, there's one water spring in the mountain. Many people come to this spring and then they try to make their own stream to their own village. So let's say there are hundreds of those streams, and I happen to be on the like a, down the river on one stream, and it was like that. Let's say 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Now, because of the trend, those small stream got into one big river, by some few people intentionally controlling this upstream. Some may block it so that they can get more water flow, or some just decided to kind of ask them to merge into it. So now there's a big stream, which can be like a river, but those kind of culture or those stories outside of this big streams are forgotten. And I'm trying my best to mention about those very small stream, and kind of question that where this river comes from, where is it going, and why is it so big? Why there's this small stone in the middle of nowhere making like a little whirlpool? So when I say that raise my voice, I would like to make that stone a little bigger, but it's not gonna get bigger by thinking it's gonna be bigger. So, what is going to be the successful measure? If they start discussing as if there's no answer, as if they like if they start splitting, if they start distinguishing, there we go, the word distinguishing the answer, then that is the goal. That's my success. Again, another extreme analogy, and this is my favorite analogy. Right now, in this world, in this, let's say, pizza world, there's only one topping is allowed, which is pepperoni. If you use besides pepperoni, let's say mushroom or jalapenos, they say it's wrong. It's not pizza. And my reaction is, how could you say that? I don't like pepperoni. I might like jalapeno better. So everybody has preference, but because of this big trend of pepperoni, mainly because of the pepperoni makers are making this trend, they're trying to narrow it down, the answer, which is not really the answer yet. They are trying to narrow it down, make it very simple so that everybody can say, hey, I love the authentic pizza with the pepperoni. And worst case scenario, in this analogy, if we keep going that, the culture of having the pizza with jalapeno will be lost. But in the real world, it's not gonna happen because we know that there's a different kind of topping. And we do know that there are personal preference. Sashiko is not even there yet. So those who define the answers are those who probably have not taken my workshop or even tried to not to reach out, or they might have copied my stitching over this live streaming, which is great, which is fantastic. But they probably don't spend enough time to define the answer. So if people in Sashiko start talking about the Sashiko outside of the today's English Sashiko, which define what is right and wrong, then that's gonna be my success. So if somebody start talking my stories, let's say that somebody learned from me, and then if they start sharing that story, that is one very big success. It is quite challenging because those are very humble people who try to learn from me, and they don't really speak up on those social media, and they think that they're not qualified. So there are very, very, very few people who teach Sashiko after my workshop, although I say you can teach if you want to, if they want to. It's better than nothing. It's better than teaching Sashiko from very, very partial knowledge. At least I can help and we can acknowledge the upstream. So, but it's not really the common things to see. There's a Facebook group called Sashiko, and every time I see that post, I feel quite strange. It's not frustration, it's not annoyed, it's strange. Strange that I am actually literally observing the change in the world which does not belong to them. So it is quite well, but again, change happens. I'm not denying the change itself. I am trying to resist the change without involving the Japanese people actually within that. I mean, there might be some Japanese, but in order to join that group, one has to be able to speak English, and that's already a very big filter. And that's why I made a group called Japanese Sashiko, which pretty much allow only Japanese to post, unless you're very much willing to discuss what Sashiko is with us. If one post, it's not a place to kind of showcase what you make, what they make. It is the place for them to learn more. So if they write about their understanding of Sashiko there, we will be happy to discuss about it. But every other post there, I remove it. Any post written in Japanese, I will keep it, no matter what is written there. So that's kind of big difference between that, and it's really very slow. The Japanese Sashiko Facebook group is very slow. But I hope I'm making the analogies are quite extreme, so it's not exactly it. But I hope that I'm making myself a little bit sense or clear. Hey, Susan, I almost got into a fight with someone in the Facebook group. She was trying to impose right and wrong stitches from an image she found on Dutch craft website. Wait. See, that's gonna that's gonna be the even. I don't know how many times I got into the fight too. So that is very, very. So that's the things I would like to change. They don't have to correct it, but they cannot stop themselves correcting it. And when they kind of get the sense of something outside of the answer they define, they don't have to, like, they are so defensive. They try to defend themselves, although we are not even attacking. So, I think the stone in the river is also being a little bit shaped differently because of the very, very strong water pressure. I'm becoming like a very round rock. I might be more like a square rock, but I'm very round. What I say has been changing a lot. The contents wise, I have not been different, but I'm the way I talk to, the way I speak up is quite different. I want to, if you have time, if you have a chance, I want to kind of look back into what I was saying. But I learn by mistake, and you know, there's so much stuff I can do. But a lot of people were talking about your domestic class, how good it was, how they want to learn Unshin instead of right and wrong. So yes, so the domestic course is my solution, one solution to change that. I'm not just wishing here the things would be different. I have to take action, and I am taking action. And the domestic course is one of those. But not many people come from domestica though. No, it is what I expected, but to online class, they're very, 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 very few. Probably in person class, there are, as long as I know, some. At the same time, I have not done any in-person workshop since I released the domestica course. I only had one workshop. So to be fair, I know it's not gonna be. I might have more people later on. But to my online class, full class, very, very, very few, which is okay as long as the introduction course on domestic car can encourage them to talk about something outside of the box. The box, it's box defined by Japanese, and there's a small box defined by somebody else in the box of Japanese definition. So, you know, inside of the box, yet outside of the box. You should have seen the fight that happened to me when I mentioned punch Niro and hooked in front. Yeah, social media is like that kind of place. So it's when you make a goal to win in the social media, there's no way to win. Actually, there is a way to win, but it's gonna be like a full-time job without pay, so you don't want to do that. So yes, domestic of course is going to change that, but I'm trying my best to kind of change the way I communicate. So this is a very good lesson that I learned in a hard way. Few years ago, like let's say 2018, 2019, I was very much interested in um, why people use the word sashiko when it's really not sashiko at all, or related to the sashiko, related to Japanese culture, nothing. But they define sashiko, right? They call them the stitching sashiko, and I was very, very purely interested why. And you know, I simply put that why curiosity into the sentence in English, and I was kind of throwing the question everywhere. Why do you call it sashiko? Why do you call it sashiko? Why do you call it stitching sashiko? Why? 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 I would like to know why. And that was a bad idea. I had a lot of discussions, and I thank God I was not that busy back. No, thank God I was staying at home with my daughter often, so I could type right next to her. But anyway, I learned that it's not actually a question. Why do you call it sashiko? Why do you call your stitching sashiko? Is not the question that I was intent to. I learned that it's accusation, and that's an English issue. I did not know that. And that's the same time. That's the around same time that I got so badly kind of accused of like how entitled I was, how not entitled, how arrogant I was. I was called very arrogant, which I don't really understand. But overreacting, arrogant, you name it, those kind of the word for the cultural appropriation. And then I learned the word cultural appropriation there too, which I don't know if it's gonna apply here. But now I changed this question, why do you call it sashiko, to what do you like about sashiko? And that shift. So the question, why do you call it sashiko, does not really carry the message that I was trying to convey, which is pure curiosity of why do you call them sashiko. Some answer me very, very simple way. Like they say like, well, I don't know what sashiko is, but by putting the word sashiko in my product, it sells better. That's perfectly great answer. That's exactly what I wanted to hear as one opinion, because I'm not trying to judge it. I'm just trying to learn what's going on. And if they think that it's good for their marketing, it's unfortunate. It's not. It's not gonna make me happy. But that's very understandable. But I'm not worried about those people because they will not stay here, stay in Sashiko if the trend changes. They will go to somewhere else. So it is quite changing. Oh, sorry. I was not accused for the cultural appropriation, but somebody helped me to accuse them for the cultural appropriation. And I was, what is the cultural appropriation, by the way? So it got split. Back then already there was somebody who were trying to defend me, and that's why I'm here. If there's nobody, I wouldn't be here. But I hope that I kind of made myself clear a little bit. I know it's not really explaining well, but that's my goal. For that, I rarely pay attention or care. I don't want to say care, but I'm not really particular about the numbers for that matter. So, for example, how many people watching is less important than who is watching. For example, this live streaming, it is more important for me to know who you are rather than how many people are. It's same on the Instagram. It is great that I have followers, and I really appreciate it. At the same time, number itself is not a priority. That's why I write something I would like to write. And the priority is who is reading that. So, but but I may have to care. I may have to think about the numbers as well if my goal is to raise my voice. That's the difficult part, I guess. Well, I think that Ty asked me the very similar question on the dialogue, and we probably phrase it as where is the destination? Where is the place that I want to land this plane? And Ty summarized it very well, so I will have to rewatch it. But there's a specific place that I would like to be, which is pretty much like in the summarize. It's one word. I would like to preserve this practice. So I just want to make sure to be able to say that I like pineapple on the pizza too, and then say like that's wrong. I don't want to hear that that's wrong. I personally think that a pineapple on the pizza is not great, but I don't think it's wrong. It's not wrong. It's not my preference, and that feels like that in some other countries where you don't know, they are defining what is the topping for the pizza, and I would like to make sure that it's a little bit more than that. I'm trying to think of a good way to further your river analogy. Those other teachers are going to keep putting students into the river on blow up pool raft. You were there in the river. Yeah, so I think that analogies they use river for entertainment. We use river for our life, daily life. For me, the water itself is actually so we don't have like a water faucet like in our village. Let's say it's an analogy, but we don't have the washing machine. We don't have the water pipeline, so we have to use that river. So it's public domain yet in a different approach. So of course, in order to use the river as the life water, you have to be good with the water. So it has to be able to swim or be able to control it too. So it is very difficult to use the analogy. At the same time, without analogy, I don't know if I can explain that. I have never done that in Japanese neither. We don't really have to do that in Japanese because it didn't happen. It did. point is it did not happen in Japan for the last 30 years, 40 years. Now it's happening in the last few years in English. Why? I think it's because of the mindset, because of the different mindset. I'm not saying which is better or wrong. Again, it did not happen last 40 years, 50 years. But the Sashiko itself is the same. There's no such a thing as right or wrong. Probably the internet changes that. I don't know. But I think the biggest change is the culture behind it. Ad. Oops. It's about time to stop then. Sorry about the ad. Okay. Wow, it's at 10 o'clock already. And it's a nice time to stop it too. Okay. Just a second, I will just finish this much. I usually do not end with a thread leaving this much, but yeah, it's okay. Okay. I wasn't gonna go over at 10 o'clock. Sorry about that. It was a nice discussion. I really appreciate those question requests, and even asking for the clarification is very much helpful for me to elaborate the story. And I often use the analogy, not because I don't have a word to explain that, but more like, it's I'm trying to verbalize I have never tried before. So let's see. I have to use what I can use. And it's quite interesting though. The one you practice Sashiko in a way we appreciate. What I say is not something new or difficult to get it. It's like some of the reaction is sure, of course. What are you talking about? But that's kind of unique in the mainstream. In the mainstream, what I see is what is right and wrong. Very dualism. And if you're not right, you gotta make it right. Which I don't believe in that at all. So, well, I mean, like, there's no right and wrong to begin with. But there are mastery, there are skill, there wisdom, there something we accumulated. And those accumulations should be respected. And then some who are willing to sort of, I don't want to say sacrifice, but those who are willing to invest their life into that practice, I want them to have enough respect as well. I'm not even there yet. There are so many Japanese Sashiko artisans with so many years of experience, yet not recognized or even acknowledged. I am doing my best to to bring them out from Japan, but again, them being in Japan and not hiding, but being modest, being humble are the culture behind it. So I don't want to break it. I don't want to just break it and then bring it up as like a commercial actor or commercial figure. So it has to be very careful. Yet that's something I have to do. So, how can I raise my voice? Let me rephrase this topic. How can I encourage? No, I'm sorry. I was gonna say how can I encourage them to talk about it, but it's not encouraging them. It's I don't want to change them as the people who learn Sashiko from many other teachers. not only one teacher or a few books or a few teachers. How can I raise my voice? How can I encourage them to get out from the dualism? How can I help them to stop judging themselves? That if they're being good, right or wrong. So those kind of little, I think I have to elaborate this sentence. Thanks, Susan. Thank you, Susan. That was a very good question asking what is the kind of goal? What is the success that I keep saying that? So I will need to dig into that and elaborate a little more. But the question can have a many variation for that. So even in Japan, those artisans aren't really well known because it's not part of the culture to stand out and brag about oneself. Yep. And you may ask, you may ask, then how do you know about those people who exist? If they're not speaking out, if they're not speaking up, if they're hiding, if they're avoiding to stand out and brag about themselves, that's the key. I was born there. I was there. My mother makes brilliant art, but she is not the only one in that brand or Sashida CL. She asked many other friends to help her to stitch together. So it's a collab. Like, we never say that it's Keiko's single solo project. It is the community project. So she's not the only one who is stitching. She has about 10 students, not a student, 10 friends. 5 to 10 friends. Do they want to be on the Instagram? It took 10 years for me to convince, not 10 years, 5 years for me to convince Keiko to be on the Instagram. She still is not happy with it. But I said it's the price you have to pay. I wasn't happy to be on the internet too. So it is something outside of the comfortable zone to me too, and to them very specifically. This could be a whole new type of psychotherapy. How to not judge yourself as right or wrong. Therapy through Sashiko. It is more like a Zen conversation, which is not the same as Sashiko. So I don't want to make it Zen-like, because for the Japanese people, the questions I'm asking is quite there already. We don't really judge ourselves. It's very, very, very interesting, but Japanese people really don't judge themselves. We blame ourselves. We don't judge. We blame. So the teacher in English who brag are very much against the culture of Sashiko. Yes, including myself. Technically speaking, I shouldn't be teaching. It took a little. I'm very scared of. I'm very afraid of those Sashiko artisans confronting me. No, they do not confront, because confronting is already the action of coming outside of the standing out. So they will they might be talking shit about me right now for me teaching Sashiko, because I'm not experienced enough for them. I'm 40 years old, and I was probably stitching when I was a kid, but even when I started stitching in my mother's belly, it's only 40 years. Only 40 years. I'm not talking about, like, those people have like lifelong experience, so, and they judge others though. We judge others. Well, it's a whole different topic. Anyway, would you say it's like Zazen? Zazen is kind of opposite. When like the talking itself, the talking right now I'm doing is like Zen conversation, and Zazen is kind of opposite of that, which can be a very good topic to discuss next week. I gotta go to prepare myself to go to sleep. So I will make sure to bring this up next week, and if I forget, please let me know. So should I talk about Zen and Sashiko next week then? Which I'm not qualified to talk about. Zen is not my strength, but as long as I know, I can tell, I can share the story within the limit of my knowledge and relation to the Sashiko. Anyway, I'm sorry, I kind of bragged for the last 5 minutes or so. Thank you very much for coming to the to this one, Sashiko Live Streaming, and I hope to see you next Thursday. After the next Thursday, I will have to cancel that, so no live streaming on 25th. So next week, yes, and after that, no. All right, thank you so much for coming, and I hope you have a good. Oh, but yeah, sorry, one last thing. I will be in New York, in the Brooklyn Dumbo loop of the room is this shop or studio that I will be tomorrow, Friday night. Not a night. Friday evening and also Saturday evening. Tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. If you'd like to say hello to me, that'd be great. If you want to take a look at my samples, that'd be great. We will have a pop-up store as well. So if you'd like to come stop by, please do so. All right. Have a good night. Bye bye.